go home. So you are already at home. Yeah. So I'm getting a few questions. One question is how to determine the direction of magnetic moment. Direction of magnetic moment. So my power, I will have only 19% power, and as soon as the power is over, you assume the class is also over. Okay. So yeah, so one is the direction of magnetic moment. So the direction of magnetic moment basically will be from, yeah, screen is not visible, I know. Only if I share it will be visible. Yeah, so some of you had asked me to show you the previous slide. I had shown you the previous slides. It's all over. So I'm going to work from the next slide onwards. So that at least the latecomers won't know which slide I'm working. Okay, so listen, understand, this is a anti-clockwise current. So anti-clockwise current, the magnetic field will be in the, this is the north pole. So if this is a north pole, the dipole moment will be positive this way. Okay, if it's a clockwise current, this is a south pole, the dipole moment will be this way. Okay, so the dipole moment is from positive negative towards positive. So from the south pole, down is the south pole, from the south pole towards the positive pole. Up is the south pole, from the south pole towards the positive pole. So dipole moment is negative, is from the negative pole to the positive pole. Okay, so for anti-clockwise, it is positive. For clockwise, it is negative. I hope now screen is visible. Yes. Yes, then any other questions? Quickly fire, we will finish and then we will go. Oh, 16% power. So at this rate, it is going 2% in 1 minute. So you have only 8 more minutes. So two charges Q placed 10 centimeters away are brought closer by 4 centimeters. Find the work done. And in this, the present separation will be 4 centimeters or 6 centimeters. Closer by 4 centimeters means separation will be 6 centimeters. So how to find out the work done here? So the way you go ahead is this. So you have one charge here, one charge here. So initial potential energy is equal to K Q1 Q2 by D. Final potential energy PE final is equal to K Q1 Q2 by D2. Okay, so work done is equal to potential energy final minus potential energy initial. So K Q1 Q2 1 by D2 minus 1 by D1. So it will become K Q1 Q2 D1 minus D2 by D1 D2. So in this case, separated by 4 centimeters means the final separation will be 6 centimeters. Okay, final separation will be 6 centimeters. What will happen if we are using our phone while charging? Yeah, the phone may get heated up and the battery may burst. So if the battery has harmful chemicals, so because the phone is already drawing more, the potential difference between the battery is more than what it should be, there is a possibility that it bursts. Explosion. But it is not the same in case of a laptop. No, how do you know? Many laptops have also burst. While a laptop is made, so you see, you put laptop is much more expensive, so you can put 101 devices in the laptop. So a laptop has fuse. Mobile phone doesn't have a fuse. So in case of danger, the laptop fuse will go away, but in a case of this thing, it doesn't. So yeah, bigger the device, you can now put safety, more and more safety devices. So it all depends on how many safety devices you have. But laptop batteries also burst. A wire carrying a current I is kept in the xy plane along the curve. Okay. Sine 2 pi x by lambda. A magnetic field B exists. Find the magnitude of the magnetic force on that portion of the wire. Okay, so 2 pi x by lambda. Okay, magnetic field exists in the z direction. Okay. So here is a wire. So a sine 2 pi x by lambda. So you have a wire like this. Now there's a magnetic field in this. Okay. Now there must be a current carrying. It must be carrying a current I. Current carrying I is kept in the B exists a magnetic force on the wire to x is equal to lambda. So now they are asking you for the force here. So this part the current is going this way. This part the current is going this way. Okay. So if there is a magnetic field BIL, if I just do BIL, it will be outwards. Then again, if I do BIL on this element, also it will be outwards. Okay. So what I can do is whether the wire is this way, placed this way or this way, what is going to be the impact we have to understand. So now if I take a wire element here, so the force will be in this direction. If I take a wire element here, the force will be in this direction. Okay, so we'll try to do some integration and then work. So that's the only thing which says here. So all of you, you may make a note. Y is equal to a sine 2 pi x by lambda. So there is a wire of this format which carries a current I in a magnetic field perpendicular to the plane, some B. So the question is, what is the force on this? Okay. The point to note is that on this portion of the wire, there will be a force in this direction, right? Similarly, on this portion of the wire, there will be a force in this direction. Now I can resolve this into vectors, one like this and one like this. So I can resolve this also into vectors, one like this and one like this. So 1 second now. So the current goes this way. So the current goes this way now, force will be in the upward direction, not in the downward direction, not this. So I can resolve this into this and this. Okay, so this force and this force. Yeah, similarly on this wire, if I go by my right hand rule, there will be a force in this way. So I can resolve this into this and this. So what I see is that the x forces, the y forces will get cancelled. So only the x forces will remain. So if the x forces will remain, the wavelength when you go from here to here will be lambda. So I feel the answer will be bi lambda. Okay, see, I'm discussing, I'm only thinking, okay, I don't know. So if I go by this wire here, there will be a force in this direction, right? So now that force will have a component upwards and a component sidewards. So for this point, I'll also have a point on this side where the force will be like this. So now that will also have a horizontal component and a vertical component. So all the vertical components get added on, but the horizontal components don't get added on, they get cancelled. So there will be a force only in the vertical component. So if I can break it into dx and dy, so there will be a force only because of all the dx. So if I add up all the dx, I'll get equal to lambda. So that is, so I think the answer will be lambda b into I. Yes, we have logic gates into. So Videsh, if my answer is right, it's okay. If you think my answer is wrong, let me know so that we can exert little more mind and then work. Okay, so yeah, so it's correct. So fine. So there is, we don't have to exert our mind. But if it was not correct, then I would have to take each element, find out the angle, take the x component, y component, find the x component, y component, and then do it. But always work with common sense. It works. 90% it works. So an electron and a proton are moving on a straight parallel path with same velocity, and they enter a semi-infinite region of uniform magnetic field perpendicular. What will be the resultant paths of them after they enter the region? So if an electron and proton together enter a region, so semi-infinite means this side there is no magnetic field, this side there is a magnetic field. Okay, so now suppose both of them are moving like this, and suppose the magnetic field is like this. So the proton will tend to move like this, and the electron will tend to move like this. Okay, so radius is equal to mv by bq. Yeah, so radius is equal to mv by bq. So now the mass of proton is much higher than the mass of electron. So the proton will have a greater radius. Proton will have a greater radius than the electron. Because the mass of the electron is very, very small, it will have a very small radius. So it will have a small radius. Okay, but this will move anti-clockwise. This will move clockwise. Okay, so that is it. Yeah, then I don't know, Harish, any other details they are asking? What will be the resultant paths of them after they enter the region? Yeah, so will they leave the field, or will the motion continue? Okay, yeah. They have to leave the field, because what happens is it's only semi-infinite, right? So only on this side there is a magnetic field. So after coming, this goes this way. Then after coming this also goes this way. So they'll go back into the same thing. So they go back into the same medium. Okay, so the two will go back into the same medium from which they have come. Isn't this some working of a cyclotron? Yeah, it is. Same working, yeah. Cyclotron they have removed from your syllabus, okay, Pramod, so don't worry about it. So no cyclotron for you guys. Okay, I made a solution for the galvanometer worksheet, so I have to work on that. Where is it? Okay, I will tell you where it is. Okay, Pramod, don't worry about it. But Pramod, I have made some 2-3 videos on cyclotrons. Okay, so if you can go there and see it, it will be a great help for you and for me also. And guys, if you guys can motivate, I don't mind making few more videos, but only thing is I need little bit more motivation. Motivation na ஆமா சார் பார்த்தேன், இது இப்படி பண்ணா நல்லா இருக்கும், இது இப்படியே நல்லா இருக்கு, அந்த மாதிரி நீங்க கொஞ்சம் மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணா I don't mind making few more videos. ஓகே, நீங்க கிளாஸுக்கு மட்டும் வரணும், கிளாஸ்ல மட்டும் கேட்கணும், அது தேவையில்லை. நீங்க டவுட் போட்டா நான் வீடியோ பண்ணி தரேன். ஓகே. So Pramod, பாருங்க வீடியோ Pramod, 2 வீடியோ இருக்கு cyclotron பத்தி. Yes, ray optics is there. Ray optics is there for the next academic year. Okay, this is for you guys to ask questions. You guys are not asking questions. You're doing everything else. What are coaxial solenoids? Coaxial solenoids are solenoids which have the same axis. So, coaxial solenoids. Can you kindly prove the force acting on a current carrying wire joining two fixed points in a uniform magnetic field? Can you prove that the force, kindly ella thevelleda, you can just ask sir, prove. Can you prove that the force acting on a current carrying wire joining two fixed points A and B is independent of the shape of the wire? I can prove. How to find time spent in the magnetic field? Okay, I will answer these 3 questions. Coaxial solenoid onne, adonne, idonne. Okay. Coaxial solenoid. Solenoid, 2 solenoids which have the same axis. Okay, so idonne irukku. அப்புறம் இதுக்குள்ளவே இன்னொரு கலர்ல போட்டுக்கலாம். இதுக்குள்ள இன்னொன்னு இருக்கு. So இதோட axis அதோட axis same ஆ தான் இருக்கு. But both the solenoids don't touch each other. Do not touch each other. Okay, so these are coaxial solenoids. Okay, now you asked me to prove that the force is independent of the shape. So here I will explain something that I have already explained. Suppose I have a wire like this and there is a magnetic field here. You are asking me what is the force on this. So I am telling that on each element, suppose you look at this element, you can break it into x and y. You can break it into x and y, x and y, x and y. Okay, you can break this element into x and y. Every element can be broken into an x element. So you put all the x elements together, then it can be broken into a y element. So you are putting all the y elements together. So if you put these x elements and these y elements, where will you reach? You will reach here. Now when you're going from here to here, again the y elements will look like this, and again the x elements will look like this. So the current is going from here, going from here, going from here, and going here. So now do you see that there is to and fro current, net current 0? So there is no force here. So there is force acting only in this one, so which is in the upward direction. So that is what we did in the previous question. When we got the sine curve, when there's a wire like this in the sine curve, we saw that the force is equal to the force acting on the straight wire. What was the logic for that? Every dl element we made it into dx dy dx, then again all the dx, all the dy's, all the dy's dx. Now all the dy's will add up to give you two parallel currents to and fro, net force 0. So we just have to join the beginning of the curved portion to the end of the curved portion by a straight line, and the force on that straight line will give us the force on the bent wire. So suppose there is a bent wire like this. Okay, so I just have to join these two. So the force on this bent part is equal to the force on this straight part. Alternatively, I can even break it into two parts, straight part going to the center and then coming. So the same logic I'll apply. So whatever shape you put, the logic that I'll put is, if I take all the dx's, if I take all the dy's, if I take all the dx's, then I will be coming back such that the total dx plus dy will be equal to this. So the net force will be equal to the force joining the starting of the curved portion to the ending of the curved portion. If it is 0, then the force, if it is 360 degrees, the force is 0. Okay, so this was the next question that was asked. The next question asked is how to find time. How to find time in a magnetic field. Okay, now suppose there is a magnetic field here. Suppose this thickness is something. Okay, now you push a charged particle like this, so it goes like this, and then again it goes off. Yeah, now the moment it enters, suppose it was perpendicular. So the moment it enters, you know that it will start moving in a circle. So you know this radius r is equal to mv by bq or something, some formula you know for radius. Now if you know the formula for radius, now this is also radius, this is also radius. Now this thickness, this is thickness t. Can I say t, if this angle is theta, can I say t is equal to r sine theta? Yeah, so can I say t by r is equal to sine theta? Now can I say theta is equal to sine inverse of t by r? Now theta is equal to omega t. So omega t is equal to sine inverse of t by r. So from there I can say t is equal to 1 by omega sine inverse of t by r. Huh? Think about it. Think about it. They're asking me how to find the time spent in a magnetic field. Suppose it came this way and then it went away like this. If we know the thickness of the magnetic field, then I know the radius, then I know omega. Omega, you know how to calculate, some 2 pi m by bq. So this t is time. So time spent we have calculated. Hmm. You meant the proof mathematically. Okay, for a semicircle I will show mathematically, then we will see. Two coaxial solenoids of different radii carry current I in the same direction. Let F be the magnetic field on the inner solenoid due to the outer solenoid, and F1 be the force on the outer solenoid due to the inner solenoid. Okay, so you want to understand this one. Okay. No, I said diamagnetism is formed by induced, so they are opposite direction. Okay. So Vigdesh, you meant I couldn't understand the question, sir. The word coaxial. Okay, I will explain. So Videsh, I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say you want to mathematical proof. The mathematical proof will come with little bit of integration. So I will try to show you the integration. Suppose you have it like this. Suppose you have it like this. Okay. Suppose you have it like this. If the shape is a vague shape, then God only can help us, because we won't be able to form the integrals. But for this, we'll be able to form the integrals. Okay. So let me take this portion. This portion dl. So I have this here. I have this here. So yeah. So this is r. So the current is going this way, magnetic field is this way, so the force is in this direction, right? So that direction force has two components. It will have a component like this, it will have a component like this. So now if this angle here is theta, then this angle is also theta. So this is equal to f cos theta, this is equal to f sin theta. So what is f equal to? Bi dl. So Bi dl cos theta. Okay, Bi dl cos theta, integral of this. Theta will change from minus 90, that is this side is minus 90, this side is plus 90. Okay, so from minus 90 to plus 90. So that is 2 times integral 0 to 90 Bi dl cos theta. Now dl will become equal to r d theta. So I have this. Yeah. So I have this. So if I have this, So I'll have BIR integral of cos theta. So 2 times integral of cos theta. So 2 times integral of cos theta will become sin theta. Limits 0 to 90. So it will become equal to 2 BIR. So the upward force is 2 BIR. Okay. Now let's look at this force. So that force will become, everything will be same. Instead of cos theta, I'll have a sin theta, right? Now what will happen is the force will be from 0 to, it won't become 2 times from 0 to 90. Basically, from when you take this force in this side, the force is in this direction. On this side, the force will be in this direction, right? So the net force will not be 2 times 0 to 90. It is force from 0 to 90 minus force from 0 to 90. So the net will become equal to 0. So there is no force in the horizontal direction. There is force only in the vertical direction. Okay. So this is how, for any complicated, any shape, you can use calculus and then you can find out. If this part also comes, if this part also comes, now the force because of the vertical part won't become equal to 0. Okay. So now we will have to find out. Again, we will have to change the limits of our integral and then we will get it. You work on it, you will get it. Okay. Was I clear? Okay. Next is coaxial wires. So this is how coaxial wires are. So you have one set of wires like this. So this is one solenoid. On the solenoid Kulla, there is one more solenoid. Okay. So now they are asking, I mean, suppose a current is going this way. Suppose a current is going this way. Now they have given you some conditions. So based on that conditions, you will have to work it out. So now the way you work it out is, this wire is a wire from here to here. Magnetic field, because of this solenoid, you can find out mu naught N1I. Okay, so mu naught N1I, magnetic field B into I into L. Okay, so you will get it. Now on the outer wire, because of the inner wire, outside it there is no magnetic field, so there is no magnetic force, no force on outer wire. Okay, so that is it. But actually a similar question came in a JEE, where for the outer wire they had to treat this like a current carrying wire. But now if there's a current carrying wire, now these are circular loops placed in a magnetic field. Now because they are circular loops placed in a magnetic field, anyway net force will be equal to 0. Okay. So now you want to know about paramagnetic diamagnetic. I'll explain. Sir, how do some poles come together in the non-induced case? Can you explain, please reteach magnetic dipole moment of a revolving electron. A wire of length 2r carrying a current I is bent into a polygon of n sides. What is the magnetic field at the center of the polygon? Thus, magnetic field at certain points is this. This field is annulled by the magnetic field at the center of a loop 5 centimeters. The required current is about, yeah. Explain self and mutual. We have not yet learned self and mutual inductance, so don't worry about it. Can you explain about the conversion of galvanometer to? Oh, I will explain. So the question is about this wire current. Then before that, dipole moment of revolving electron. So how do poles come together in induced cases? Okay, Ashwin, I will tell you. Okay. So now let us move on. So there are 3-4 questions which have come up. First, a non-related question Ashwin is asking from the next chapter. We don't want to do now, but since I have already introduced you, I will answer. I am saying that there are electrons. Okay, there are electrons in every object. There are electrons. Now an electron is associated with the magnetic moment. Now what is the magnetic moment? Magnetic moment for anything is I into A. I for current, A for area. Okay, so if there is a electron which is revolving, then I is equal to Q into F. F means number of revolutions per second. So that is equal to Q by time period. Time period means time taken for one revolution. Okay. So now time taken is what? 2 pi R by V. So F will become V by 2 pi R. So the magnetic moment will become E V by 2 pi R into area. Area is what? Pi R squared. So this and this will get cancelled, this and this will get cancelled, and I will get EVR by 2. What is EVR by 2? EVR by 2 is magnetic moment. Okay. Now, because it is all following Bohr's concepts, I have MVR is equal to NH by 2 pi. So from there I can say VR is equal to NH by 2 pi M. So I substitute, so it becomes ENH by 2 pi M. Okay. So Ashwin, let's take it from here. So basically every revolving electron has a magnetic moment. Yeah. Now these magnetic moments are all interacting with each other because there are many electrons, right? Because there are many electrons, so these magnetic these electrons are interacting. These magnetic moments are interacting with each other. So there are two types of interactions visible. Two types of interactions observed. One, when they produce an opposite spin, opposite dipole moment. Okay, so when they have opposite dipole moments, the net is zero. Where are you likely to see this? In all those cases where there are having electron pairs. Then in the second case, they both rotate in the same, they have parallel magnetic moments. So if they are having parallel magnetic moments, then the strength of the magnetic field increases. So this is what is referred to as a diamagnetism. Usually this is induced. This is what is called as paramagnetism. So in those materials where this is more, they are diamagnetic. Those materials where this is more are paramagnetic. Okay. Extreme cases of paramagnetism is ferromagnetism. Next question is to convert galvanometer to voltmeter. Okay, so first, voltmeter measures potential. Across the circuit. Now, because it measures potential across a circuit, it is always connected in parallel. Okay. Now, suppose I take a galvanometer which has a resistance Rg and which will show full deflection for Ig. So now this is the resistor, this is the battery. Now to this I am going to connect this galvanometer. Now you see, traditionally some current will be going this way. Now I don't want to reduce this current, so I want less current to pass through this. So how do I make less current to pass through this? By connecting another high resistance in this. Yeah. So the voltmeter that you are talking of is a galvanometer to which a resistance is connected. So this is the voltmeter. Okay. Now these two are whatever it is measuring, the potential that it is measuring should be Ig into Rg plus this R. So from here I can get R is equal to V by Ig minus Rg. So what is V by Ig minus Rg? That is the resistance which has to be connected in series to the galvanometer to convert it into a potentiometer or into a voltmeter. Okay. Now what is the range of that voltmeter? Whatever this V is. So if you want it from 0 to 5 volt, this V is 5 volt. If you want from 0 to 25 volt, V is 25 volt. What is Ig? Ig is the maximum current which will flow in the galvanometer. So to convert a voltmeter into a galvanometer, connect a high resistance in series. When how much resistance in series? This much resistance in series. Okay. Okay. Magnetic dipole moment I discussed. Wire polygon we will discuss. Explain self I told out of syllabus. Can you explain about galvanometer? I explained. So now two wire of length 2 pi r. So there is a wire here of length something. It is converted into a polygon here of n sides. If it's converted into a polygon of n sides, now this distance I can find out. If it's a polygon of n sides means this will be how much? This length will become 2 pi r by n, because total length is 2 pi r. So this will become 2 pi r by n. Now this full angle here is 360, but because of n sides, this angle here will become 360 by n. That means this angle here will be 360 by 2n, so it will become 180 by n. Yeah. So now what is B equal to? B, because of a straight wire, suppose it is carrying some current, is equal to mu naught I by 2 pi d, sorry, 4 pi d sine theta 1 plus sine theta 2. Okay. In our case, theta 1 will become equal to theta 2. So we have no problem. So now I have to calculate this d. Okay. So we can calculate this d, not a big deal. So now here tan theta will become equal to pi r by n. This full thing from here to here is 2 pi r. So half of it will be pi r by n. Now tan theta is equal to pi r by n into d. So I want d is equal to pi r by n tan theta, right? So let me substitute all that. So it will become mu naught I by 4 pi d. D is what? Pi r by n tan theta. So n tan theta into 2 times sine theta. Okay. So this gives you the job. Job is done. So now we'll have to just arrange it beautifully so that it looks better. So we will arrange it mu naught ni by 4. So 2 is there. So I'll cut 1, 2, 2 pi square r. Then it will become sine squared theta by cos theta. So that is going to be your answer. Yeah. So this full length is 2 pi r. Full length is 2 pi r. So now it is converted into an n-sided polygon. So each side will be 2 pi r by n. Okay. Then the full central angle is 360. So this angle here will be 360, that is 2 pi by n. So up will become pi by n, down will be pi by n. So this theta is equal to pi by n. Okay. So now we have to just calculate d. So we put some little trigonometry and then we got it. Who asked this question? Isai. Did you get it? Yeah, okay, so good. Ask any other questions. If you have no questions, spare me. I'll also leave. You also leave. Okay, good. So nobody seems to be asking any more questions. Message me if you all have more questions. I will try my best to help. There is a question that came in. Sir, we will meet tomorrow. Yeah, we will definitely meet tomorrow. Yes, yes. So tomorrow we will meet. This week I don't want to teach anything. How did the total length become 2 pi IR? 2 pi R. Total length is 2 pi R. That was given in the question itself. A wire of length 2 pi R carrying a current I. So it became 2 pi R. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, 2 pi. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So length given 2 pi R. Okay, so see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye. Tomorrow we will do chemistry. Come with a proper frame of mind. Okay, thank you. Bye.